Welcome to Straight Talk and Retirement, your no-hype source for financial advice and making informed choices about your retirement planning. Get on the phone to talk today at 314-931-5877 or text your question to 84126.
The opinions voiced in this show are for general information only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. To determine which investments may be appropriate for you, consult with your attorney, accountant, and financial advisor or tax advisor prior to investing. Securities offered through LPL Financial, member FINRA SIPC. Investment advice offered through Private Advisor Group, a registered investment advisor. Private Advisor Group and JBL Financial Services, Inc. are separate entities from LPL Financial.
Now, here are your retirement coaches, Jeff and Aaron Lapidus.
Well, hello, St. Louis, and welcome to Straight Talk on Retirement. You're live and local, St. Louis's favorite financial call-in show. I'm Jeff Lapidus, president of JBL Financial Services. Our offices are located in beautiful, warm but slightly cloud-covered downtown Olivet, Missouri. I am a 40-year veteran of the financial services area, a fee-based financial planner and wealth manager. And I'm joined by my very two able colleagues, my daughter Erin, who also is a fee-based financial planner and wealth manager, and Rob Markham, our newest addition, our insurance specialist.
We help our clients make smart choices about their money. The way we do that is by designing a game plan, a written, step-by-step strategy, a real game plan that has several goals in mind.
First is to preserve, protect, and prudently grow the assets our clients have taken their entire lifetimes to accumulate. Second is to deliver a reliable stream of income, one they can count on, so they can do all the things they like to do during retirement.
And third is cost-effectively addressing their health care needs, like helping individuals enroll in Medicare and choosing the right plan to supplement their medical coverage.
And then when they're done enjoying their assets during their lifetime, we show them how to pass them on to the people they love, whether it's their spouses or children, grandchildren, churches, or charities, whoever it might be, with Uncle Sam or the tax courts taking a big bite out of their money. And as their wealth managers, Aaron and I watch their money every single day to make sure they're staying on track. And that's why they call us the retirement coaches. Good morning, gang.
Good morning.
Good morn.
Happy birthday.
Thank you very much.
Oh, man, he jumped a gun on me. I was going to say it was a momentous day, a momentous weekend.
Rob, we're 364 days.
Away from your next birthday?
No, tomorrow's my birthday. It's not today.
He said we're 364 days.
Of this year.
Yeah.
365 is a normal year, so tomorrow is the big day. I become an adult, Medicare eligibility. Life is good. But thank you so much for those well wishes. And I do want to take a moment before we start to thank one of our clients out in beautiful Arizona for sending me a wonderful card and
yes.
birthday wishes. One of our clients, Diane, we say, no, Diane's listening, even though it's 2 hours earlier.
That's how dedicated. Such a
right.
sweet woman.
Say, thanks, Di. We're thinking about you. We appreciate it.
Gave us a good marketing idea, too.
Absolutely.
You know, our clients just helping out.
There you go. We do appreciate that. And as a reminder, all of our clients are folks like you. They're our listeners. They're over the age of 55. They would like to retire, or they're already retired. And as Aaron mentioned, we create a game plan for them that has the goals of a fun, financially secure, and hopefully less worrisome retirement. A lot of fun. And again, we are live and local. We'd love to hear from you. Our phone lines are open, 931-5877. Our able producer, Eric, is there to handle your calls, as well as the text line, which, of course, is in the firm grasp and grip of my favorite oldest prodigal daughter, Erin, 84126. Right?
That's right. I'm here, ready to go. Oh my goodness. Ask and you shall receive. I looked away for just a brief moment. We have a text.
They're flying.
They're flying in.
Beautiful. Let's do that, and we'll certainly get back to reintroducing our newsletter and all that good stuff in a moment.
This is a great question because we literally just got it last week during coaching sessions, not on the radio.
Go for it.
Are you ready?
Yes, ma'am.
Good morning.
Good morning.
It's good morning. My wife and I currently max out our 401ks and Roth IRAs. Are we eligible to also fund a traditional IRA? No. So on one, the answer is no.
No.
That's actually pretty great
Well,
savings, though.
Yeah, I mean, the limits in terms of making contributions outside your 401ks to either a Roth or a traditional IRA.
$125,000 married filing jointly.
Well, I was just saying is that the contribution limit are the same.
Right.
So you're choosing A or B, or you could actually do A and B, but you can't do A plus B.
Right. Becomes non-deductible.
Yes, that's correct.
And the Roth is not available.
That's a super good question.
It is.
I know next week we were talking about
Or last
sort of doing
week.
a rules review on IRAs. And, there are a lot of rules.
Mm-hmm.
They make a lot of sense, but
you got to follow them.
You got to follow them, and also you need to know about them. And truthfully, it's always good to get advice, get a second opinion, get a professional opinion, so you're doing the right thing, because the IRS is not forgiving.
Also, I mean, just to kind of build off this question, if you're already maxing out your 401ks at work, that means you're making the maximum pre-tax contribution that you can. If you're, contributing to a Roth, maybe it's time to start something that's we would consider it a little bit more liquid, depending upon what you invest in. But, an after-tax account where there are no restrictions in terms of taking money out, putting money in, you could start to build your after-tax wealth, because we often find that is, the majority of our clients follow conventional wisdom, which the majority of people do, which is you want to put the most that you possibly can away into your retirement plan pre-tax through your employer, and you do that all your working life, and then you have this big chunk of money. Well, that also leaves out the other side, which is it's nice to be able to have some liquidity in terms of when you can pull money, how much you can take, not having to pay taxes, or not having to pay ordinary income tax versus capital gains or dividends and interest on that money. So it might be smart to, whatever money you had available to put into that traditional IRA, maybe you start to build an after-tax investment account.
Yeah, because there are some, as you mentioned, honey, there are some restrictions here. If you're taking that extra money and you're putting it into a Roth, if you don't have a Roth, you've got a 5-year window where that money has to stay in there, so that any interest, anything that's pulled out in terms of interest distributions made, are going to be tax free. And the other side of that would be is, what if you're under 59.5? You could be subject to that pre 59.5 10% tax distribution penalty, which applies not only to traditional IRAs but also to Roth IRAs. So, point well made, and it is also not uncommon for us to begin to build these after-tax accounts through IRA distributions for those folks after they've retired, so that we can create that liquidity.
Right, it's possible
later.
that either one, they don't need income immediately after they retire, but we are sending them money to do just that, build up their after-tax account. Potentially they've made the election to take Social Security in order to build up that after-tax account, whereas maybe they wouldn't have in terms of an income need. Or potentially, if you come see us in far enough in advance and we've determined, hey, maybe you've put enough inside of those pre-tax accounts and your retirement accounts, that maybe instead of making those contributions in full, you're just making contributions to the match rather. So you're still taking advantage of your employer's contribution, but maybe you're taking a piece of that home to put into your savings account.
Very good thoughts. And, it's interesting, because as folks get very close to their normal retirement date, whatever that would be, based on either age or not, what's happening is that for many cases, what they're going is, okay, maybe I don't have income for 30 days. Maybe it takes a while to
right.
to get money out of my 401ks to start my pensions, and then wanting to have a cash.
Right. A cachet.
Right.
Cash.
Etc.
Well,
so there again, I was just making the point here is, and I think you've done a very good job, is that there are a lot of reasons to have non-taxable assets, and
for after-tax assets,
right? When you're starting to put those aside systematically, that's a part of our game plan, and that's a good thing to do.
Got a Another text question, and Eric asks, I just started a new job. What should I do with my old 401k?
That's a great question. There are a few options that you have, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this is something, Rob, that you had to deal with and think about recently, isn't it?
Yes, it is. And you don't have that many options, but you do have a few. And probably the worst option, we'll go over that first.
Least exciting option.
Right. We don't want to really get too far into this, but you could cash it out, pay the taxes and the penalty.
If you're under 59 and a half.
That's not recommended, but you certainly can.
Well, and let me stop you there, because you could also pull it out and then change your mind and want to put it into an IRA.
Got to be within 60 days.
But you have to be within 60 days. That's right.
And also the problem there is if, like the texter mentioned, he's leaving work. If he cashes out the 401k, they're going to automatically withhold taxes. And if you decide then to put it into an IRA, you have to go back to the federal government and request those taxes back to put into your IRA.
Yes, that's correct. So, Rob, what's option number 2? So one is cash. We don't want to do that.
Right.
You could wait for your new employer to open enrollment for a new 401k and then roll that old one into the new company's plan.
That can be a very good one, because we know that you need to do a little research first beforehand, which is, does the plan that I have today have better options, maybe more cost-effective options, maybe ones I like better. Number 2 is making sure that you do what we call a trustee-to-trustee transfer, which is you're going to that old employer and you're saying, hey, give me a statement. Then you have to go to your new employer and say, give me a transfer form.
Right, so or they'll do it electronically for you.
Exactly. And that's an important one. And there are some things to think about. And we know that in your particular case, if you have more than $5,000 in that old plan, you don't have to take the money. If you like it, you could leave it there. And again,
but I think Rob makes a really good point about taking it with you, and that's because we've had a handful of clients that 20 years ago they remember that they worked somewhere and they never moved that money. Well, a few things can happen. You lose a statement. It's really hard to find your money if you don't have your account number any longer. The plan itself could have moved. Your employer could have chosen a new location for the plan if you've lost records of that transfer, because they let you know that your account's being moved. If you lost the record of that, it could be even more difficult to find. So it's kind of important that you want the money to follow along with you. And there's one last thing that you can do that would at least help you keep track of your money, which is, put it into an IRA.
A traditional IRA.
Right.
Because, and I guess, a question we also are often asked, we had this last week, which was, well, can I just take it and put it into a Roth? Well, the answer is yeah.
Ouch, again,
but it's not tax-free.
Right.
Because we're talking about taking it from a pre-tax account and moving it to a after-tax account.
I have a question on that.
Mm-hmm.
What if you're under 59 and a half and you can do what they call a Roth conversion? You can take the IRA and move it into a Roth, or is that considered a distribution?
It's still considered a distribution.
So you can't do Roth conversions before 59 and a half. So if the texter happened to be under that age, that would basically be cashing it out.
Yes. Not
taking the
option.
penalty and then doing something with it. Yeah.
Yeah, and so, obviously being eligible for that new employer's plan,
mm-hmm.
being able to move that money over there. And the cool part is that, you literally have 2 pots of money. You have your new pot, which is your new contributions.
And hopefully your employer's matches.
And that's probably subject to their money, their contributions, honey, you're right, could be subject to some type of a vesting schedule.
Mm-hmm.
But the money that you move over, as well as the money that you contribute, well, that's already fully vested because it was yours.
And that's something that we left out from the texter's original question, which is we don't know how long he's worked there, what their vesting schedule is. So if you're leaving an employer, you want to make sure that you're clear, or when you're signing up for your new plan, you want to make sure you're clear what the vesting schedule is, because if you leave, you could be leaving money on the table.
Well, and in fact, you would be leaving money on the table. Because,
if you're not vested.
Yeah, for whatever portion you're not vested at the end of the year, what will happen is that plan sponsor will...
takes it back.
Yeah. Well, I mean, what's interesting is they take it back, and then either they're going to the employer that has an opportunity to either spread it among the active participants directly, or take it back and reduce their future contributions.
Oh, so it's like a prepayment on their future contributions
Exactly.
to employ. So they do spread it no matter what, essentially.
They get to recycle it, exactly.
Well, you know what? We have a caller on the line. Harvey has an inheritance question.
Woohoo! Good morning, Harvey. Thanks for calling the show.
Yeah, thanks for taking my question. I'm just wondering if my children inherit my IRA and they are under 59 and a half. What are the rules when they take some money out of it? Do they have to pay the 10% penalty? How long do they have to take money out? How does that look?
Harvey, great.
This
really,
is a great question.
It's a fabulous question, and you're not supposed to say that after every question, but the truth is, this is a fabulous one.
Well, if they're all great.
So what happens is that when your children or anyone that isn't your wife, if you have one, your spouse, that inherits an IRA from you, that's what we call an inherited IRA.
Well, it becomes an inherited IRA.
And so it isn't really theirs, but the truth is it's really yours that didn't get taxed by Uncle Sam. And the rules did very recently change, right, babe?
That's right.
January 1st of 2020, a part of the CARES Act.
That's right. Originally, you had three options or beneficiaries had three options of these IRAs, which was they could take it out over the course of their life using their age and required minimum distribution percentage, take it out over a 5-year period, or take it out all at one time. And when the CARES Act was passed, they did away with those three options and have basically left you with two. The first is you could take it all out at once, and the second option is you could take it out over a 10-year period. In fact, you have to have it liquidated by the 10th year. We talked about this briefly last week, which was there's one additional potential caveat to this, which is, first of all, if your children happen to be under the age of 18 when they inherit the IRA, they're not subject to the 10-year rule until they reach 18. So they'll be able to take required minimum distributions. They will pay taxes, Harvey, but they won't pay any penalties for taking these distributions because they're required to. If you happen to be 72 or older when you pass away, your beneficiaries will have to take at least your required minimum distribution every year for the 10 years, and at most as much as they want. So there will be a minimum as to what they'll have to take if you happen to be over 72 when you pass away. And if your children happen to be under 18 when you pass away, the rules are slightly different, but essentially, if you fall between those, you have to distribute within 10 years. No penalties, but taxes will be involved.
Yeah, so what would happen is that your investment advisor or your executor would direct your investment person or custodian to actually create an inherited IRA, which has their name on it and yours. Those assets are then transferred into them. And the required minimum distribution, again, is based on an IRS table. Think about it this way. At age 72, the rate is a little bit less than 4%. So if your children, regardless of when they inherit, whatever their ages are, it's going to be significantly less than that. And they'll be able to do that until 18, and then they'll fall into that 10-year payout. I think, again, what I think is interesting here is that, and again, I don't know how old you are, Harvey. Your children, you said, were under 18, but the probability, unless you're ill, is that your kids aren't going to inherit this money for 20, 30 plus years. Mm-hmm. They're probably going to be your age, and that being the case, what will happen is that they could be at their
highest income earning years,
right, or basically getting ready to retire. And as we've talked about with many of our clients now, this is really leading us, and the IRS is kind of forcing us to start doing this planning, is thinking about next generational planning. So leaving this to your kids makes sense because at this moment, until they have kids, because obviously they will be most likely in a lower income tax bracket than you are.
The grandchildren.
Right, and eventually grandchildren. But what's nice is, and you're probably aware of this, assuming that you have a spouse, at your death, your spouse can take over these IRA assets. They can combine them with theirs without any tax implications. And then at the same time, she would have to make distributions based on her age and based on the rules that way. So we hope that answers your question.
Yeah, so any distribution that my children or grandchildren take is counted as ordinary income when they take
Yes.
That's right.
That's right. There is no distribution penalty, even if they take out more than the minimum. Because the truth is the IRS doesn't really think of this as your IRA. They think of it as their IRA. They really think of it as yours that was never distributed.
So they're still ready to take all their tax money.
Exactly. So that's good. So no problems, no issues, and stay around for a while, as we like to say. But thanks so much for your question. We do appreciate that. Well, great. Before we get to your other calls, which, again, phone lines are open. We'd love to hear from you, 931-5877 or 84126. The next line, do remind everybody that there are ways for you to keep in touch with us during the week, and we'll get back to those after we take our first break of the hour. I'm Jeff Lapidus, the retirement coach.
I'm Erin Lapidus, the retirement coach.
We'll be right back.
The best barbecue in town can be right out your back door with a new gas, charcoal, or pellet grill from Gas Appliance Service or the Fireplace and Grill Center. With one of the widest selections of grills in the area from Weber, Broil King, MHP, Broil Master, Kamado Joe, Blaze, and Pit Barrel, you'll find the perfect grill to meet your culinary needs at a price to match your budget. Their knowledgeable staff will show you the features and benefits of each grill and help you with your selection. Gas Appliance Service and the Fireplace and Grill Center offers free assembly on all portable grills they sell. You can choose from an array of grill accessories to enhance your barbecue or add more flavor to the best barbecue in town with a large selection of rubs, sauces, and smoking woods. So if you want a long-lasting grill that will make your friends and family say, wow, this is the best barbecue in town, go see the grill experts at Gas Appliance Service in Maryland Heights by Westport or the Fireplace and Grill Center, a quarter mile east of 141 on Manchester Road.
Drug and alcohol abuse are reaching epidemic proportions, and it's easy to hear the numbers and forget all about the person. The Salvation Army Rehab Center provides men with the chance to recover through spiritual guidance, counseling, work therapy, and life skills. You can help by shopping at the Salvation Army thrift stores or donating gently used items. Just call 314-535-0057 for free pickup or go online to satruck.org for more information.
Research shows listeners don't like it when ads interrupt their music. So to help you remember that Liberty Mutual customizes home insurance, we made this ad optional. If you want to skip this ad, remove your left earphone. Liberty Mutual customizes home insurance so you only pay for what you need.
If you're missing this informative ad, you must love wasting your cash.
It's the easy and smart way to save.
Now it's all been said, so if that earphone was out, put it back in your head.
Only pay for what you need at libertymutual.com.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
This is Jeff Lapidus, the retirement coach. Wouldn't it be great to have a game plan, a real strategy, so that no matter what was going on in the stock market, the economy, or the world, that you could be confident about your retirement? Wouldn't that be great? If you're within 5 years of retirement, call me today at 314-863-0008. That's 314-863-0008. Or send me an email, jeff@jblfinancial.com, to arrange your free coaching session. Let's get started on your retirement game plan today.
Now back to Straight Talk on Retirement on the Big 550 KTRS. Here are Jeff and Erin Lapidus.
928 here on the Big 550 KTRS, Talk Radio St. Louis. I'm Jeff Lapidus, the retirement coach.
I'm Erin Lapidus, the retirement coach.
We're ready, willing, and able.
You don't let the man introduce himself?
And I'm Robert Markham, the insurance guy. I was just thinking about Harvey's last call, and, he's obviously worried about, what his kids will be inheriting and the tax events that could be waiting for them when they inherit these IRAs. Using a life insurance policy would be a great way to shield your assets or offset some of the tax consequences of inherited IRAs. So that's just something to think about if you're listening and you're worried that your kids are going to inherit IRAs or any assets really that are going to incur a taxable event. You can use life insurance to offset some of that. So not all your money has to end up at the
The IRS.
Right, and it probably wouldn't be used wisely anyway. So no, better it stay with
with the fam.
Exactly. I mean, they have hopes, dreams, aspirations, and let them get on with pursuing them.
I think maybe we should take a couple minutes and use an example of how you might be able to use life insurance to help offset some of those taxes.
Okay.
I was just curious if you were interested.
I
know this is one of your favorite topics. We've discussed it with many, many clients.
Yeah. So, and really this does go with Harvey because we know that over that 10-year period that his children are going to have to withdraw money, assuming they
reached 18
when they inherit these IRAs. Let's use a simple example. Let's just say that each of his children inherit a $300,000 IRA. So we know that over a 10-year period, assuming no growth, they're going to have to pay out at least 20. Let's call it 20% effective tax rate. They're going to have to pay out about $60,000 in taxes
over the course of 10 years.
Exactly. A life insurance policy on dad, let's say for $100,000, to pay for those taxes, they probably run somewhere in the area of about $3,000 to $4,000 per year. Guaranteed level premium for as long as dad is alive. So, even if we use whatever life expectancy that we want to use, I mean, if the IRAs continue to grow, there's more death benefit than equal to the taxes. But it can be a very efficient way for dad to be able to, and mom, really, dad and mom, to be able to pay those taxes for those kids.
At a discounted rate, really.
Right. And as compared to my favorite thing or least favorite thing, Roth conversion.
Right.
When they're taking out, when dad is, in this case, let's take Harvey, converting IRAs to try to avoid the taxes for the kids later, but he's taking this money out, or he's recognizing the income
Harvey better have a bigger...
during his highest earning years. So his effective tax rate, federal state, could maybe be in the 25 to 30% range if it's possible, sometimes maybe even higher. Doesn't make any sense.
You're also potentially losing some of the value of those IRAs if, Harvey doesn't have a big after-tax account to pay those taxes outside of the IRAs. So I think, what a great point about using life insurance is, one, it saves mom and dad money during their life. So as opposed to paying taxes on these potential Roth conversions to save taxes for the kids' afterlife, which means, you could be paying 20-30% in taxes. You're paying pennies on the dollar for a life insurance policy to create a death benefit. But then also you're truly maintaining the size of your IRA assets for when you do pass them on, because you're not paying the 20-30%. You're paying, $4,000 a year in premium for a death benefit that your children will be able to take advantage of tax-free.
And it is so interesting because we are having these conversations with folks all the time. And what I have found is that one of the conversations that we're having that's kind of ancillary, but it really pulls together, is I have this old life insurance policy.
What do I do with it?
What do I do with it? That's right. And so what we're doing is repurposing life insurance, saying, hey, let's keep this and let's use it for that. And what typically happens is we're changing the beneficiary designations. It's really that simple. There's no cost to it, and that works.
Right. Most likely you had your life insurance set up so your spouse was the primary beneficiary because you created the life insurance to either pay off a debt or create income in the event one of you passed away. Now maybe it's time to change those beneficiaries to your children or even potentially grandchildren. So when they inherit your assets, they'll be able to pay those taxes. And also, most likely, once you've reached the age of retirement, there's a possibility that maybe you don't need that, your spouse won't need that death benefit any longer to maintain their lifestyle.
Right, because you've actually grown your capital to the point where you needed it to be so that you could create that income stream really that you want. The other side to this, and I know Rob is helping our clients and looking at this, is that, there is, when I first started into practice, there were basically only two types of life insurance: term insurance, which is basically you're renting the death benefit year by year, or permanent insurance, whole life, where you have very high premiums that you're creating cash value. There is a whole set of new types of contracts that have been created where we can actually customize the premium and the premium paying period for a client. Like one of ours the other day, a client of ours that adopted this concept of wanting to help the kids to pay the tax. They said, Jeff, we love this idea, but we don't want to pay premiums for 20 plus years. What if we only want to go for 10?
Cool, we can do that.
No big deal. So what happens is, right, I mean, we went back and we had the program rerun, and we funded it up for 10. If they're in the middle and they change their mind, they go, oh, you know what, maybe 10's a little quick.
Make it 15, 20.
12, 13. It doesn't matter. I mean, we have the flexibility internally to be able to do that now. I think that's important. So, as Rob pointed out very well, life insurance can serve different purposes at different points in time for people's lives. At the beginning, when they're younger, usually what you're doing is you're creating capital to protect and create capital to protect those family members. If the cash register,
i.e. the income earner, basically,
is unable to work. And the back end, what we're really talking about is wealth preservation. And I think that this whole change from the CARES Act in terms of
how those funds are
inherited IRAs has really made us all go back. And we're talking to every single client about this because this is probably, in my mind, at least the most significant estate planning change that's been happening in the last 20 years.
Right, because
we now have to plan for those taxes, because the truth is that before this, somebody could inherit an IRA from mom or dad or grandma or grandpa, pull out required minimum distributions
based on their age,
right? And they could do that their entire life. Well, I mean, if you assume over a long period of time that the investment accounts earn, let's say, 4%, well, you're pulling out less than that over that time period. So we know that those IRAs, they just never get
fully distributed.
They don't, and we've seen these go 1, 2, 3 times, and
generations, like
it's cool.
Mom and dad to the children to even the grandchildren.
Yeah, I mean, the interesting one was that we had recently was it went from Uncle Joe that had no parents, that had no children, to our client who unfortunately passed away. And then it went to his wife.
Right, I do recall.
And we still have that in case. And the truth is that we're never going to she's never going to extinguish it.
Because if you have a beneficiary IRA that was created before the CARES Act, so before January 1st, 2021, correct?
Yes.
Then you are still subject to the old rules, so you're grandfathered in. So if you've been taking required minimum distributions from mom and dad or your uncle's IRA, you don't have to change your distribution pattern. It's just, unfortunately for everyone who receives a beneficiary IRA after January 1st of 2021 is subject to the new rules.
Very good. Honey, do we have any other text line?
Not quite yet.
Okay, 84126 from the text line or 931-5877. We still haven't talked about this. Different ways that you can keep in touch with us during the week.
Oh, that's right.
Let's remind everybody.
We missed that about 38 minutes ago.
Yes, we did.
You can log onto our website, jblfinancial.com. In the upper right-hand corner, you can click Contact Us. Send us an email with a request for a coaching session, financial, Medicare, both, a question that you might have, comment, request for us to give you a call for an appointment, anything like that, send that right to us, and we will get back to you within 24 hours. In the lower left-hand side of the screen, you'll see a pop-up box that appears. It says sign up for our monthly newsletter. If you click sign up, then give us your name, phone number, email address. We will send that out to you every single month. We also keep all of our newsletters archived on the website, so you can take a peek. You can find that in the Contact Us section at the top on the right-hand side. You can also follow us on Twitter, JBL Financial, or friend us on Facebook, JBL Financial. On our social media pages, we tend to include community-based information as well, things going on around town that you might like to do during your retirement, not just financial or planning articles.
Yes, and what's interesting is we did just receive this question from our website, which was from Joe. And Joe writes, he says, the stocks have gone from correction territory into bear market territory. And they actually peeked their head back out based on what happened last week. Loss of greater than 20%. Aren't bonds supposed to be a safe place when the stock market goes down? Well, you know, Joe, traditionally, you are correct. But we're not in a normal situation today.
It's unprecedented times.
Yeah, exactly. From last week.
Right.
You know, the Federal Reserve continues to raise interest rates. They've went from 25 basis points to 50. That's of a percent. It just came out with a 75. They're going to come out with another one, as they told us. I think it's another month and a half. The value of bonds and bond funds are declining at a similar they're declining. They're continuing to decline. And that's because there is an inverse relationship between bond prices and interest rates. Interest rates go up, bond prices go down. And bonds do trade actively in the market every single day. They're repriced every moment, just like stocks are. So there are some options that we think that are available to protect the fixed income portion of your portfolio. We've written to our clients this week about that and about some strategic changes that we're going to be making. But we do want to certainly talk a little bit about what you can do, right, to protect your principal in some ways and earn a decent rate of interest. And decent is, we're talking about more than 1%, right?
Hopefully. So, you could use cash, which, invest in a stable market value fund, but the interest today is essentially less than 1%. Even the higher yielding money market accounts, I've seen a few emails come through about the rates are going up. They're still sub 1%.
From Mom, who's our money market shopper, and we appreciate that.
Right, so there are definitely several companies out there that are approaching 1%, but we haven't quite gotten there yet.
Yes.
You could use a stable value fund, which this is most likely for money that's going to be inside of a retirement plan. But, you can use that as the fixed income portion of your portfolio. And basically, they offer a low rate of interest as well, but it has some principal protection.
Yeah, and the reason is that they're looking at, it's a portfolio rate that's based on stuff that's already been long-term stuff that's been there for a while. And again, as you said, Aaron, you're right. This is really a qualified retirement plan option. It unfortunately isn't something that's available to us in traditional IRAs or even in non-IRA situations.
And then the final option is using a fixed annuity and basically what that's going to do, a fixed annuity, and let me read the disclosure before we go any further here. Fixed annuities are long-term investment vehicles designed for retirement purposes. Gains from tax-deferred investments are taxable as ordinary income upon withdrawal. Guarantees are based on the claims-paying ability of the issuing company. Withdrawals made prior to 59.5 are subject to a 10% IRS penalty, and surrender charges may apply.
Yeah, I think what's important here, again, is that we're looking at something that's called a fixed annuity, which means that the investments backing this annuity are the general account assets of the insurance company, who is coming back and offering a fixed rate of interest.
But there are some strings attached.
Of course there are. And again, this fixed rate of interest also is for a fixed period of time. Rob, we did a lot of work.
A lot.
Yes, we did.
In trying to find something that made some sense. And I think that we finally have, and something that, again, we want to share with our listeners this week. Why don't you tell us a little bit about it? We can't tell you the company because we're not permitted to, but...
Right, so there are a variety of companies that are offering fixed annuity contracts. They all have different rates and terms. We'd like to describe an example of one that we found.
And also one that we feel makes sense to be a part of our clients' portfolios.
Well, the one we found has a rate of interest that's guaranteed at 4%. So that's pretty good.
Better than that one.
Eesh, a lot better. You have principal protection, so you don't have to walk the floors at night worrying about what's going to happen to your principal.
Like unlike market value of bonds, where you could see a depreciation there,
or a variable annuity which has securities as its investment base,
right?
Or an equity index annuity, which is linking its interest rate to the S&P 500, which you don't want to do today.
There is a 5-year surrender, so on the anniversary of the 5th year, you can pull your money and move on. You can do that. There is a 10% withdrawal plan, so you do have some liquidity. So I think this, all in all, 4%, given what the other alternatives are for the next 5 years, I don't see how you can beat it.
Well, it's interesting here again is that the way that we're describing this to clients, and we would certainly describe it to our listeners as well as our clients who are listeners, is that we're looking at this as being a part of our fixed income strategy. We know the value of bonds are going to continue to go down until the Fed decides not to raise interest rates, or unless interest rates naturally stop rising. The yields, the interest that's being earned on these bonds is not offsetting those declines in
market value.
That's right. So finding something that we can, whereas the analogy I try to use with clients, if you look at your investment model as a two-wheeled bicycle, one wheel is the stock side, the other wheel is the fixed income, the bond, the cash side. Let's be honest, both wheels...
There's some holes in the tires.
That's right.
Air is coming out.
The air is leaking. And so until we
losing
come to
altitude,
a time, right, before we see the equity side turnaround, which is really going to be a little more complicated, many factors. I think we've got a solution for our clients so where what we can do is put a Band-Aid, put electrical tape, whatever, over this fixed income side, so at least that we can make it home. And
also, I think the highlights really that Rob pointed out about this fixed annuity really make a lot of sense. There are liquidity restrictions, but you have a little flexibility. You talked about the 10% withdrawal corridor, meaning annually you can pull 10% of the initial premium if necessary without penalty. There's flexibility based on where you're holding this fixed annuity on the taxation. You could take growth out. You could take the interest out annually and pay taxes if it's outside of an IRA. If it's an inside of an IRA, just like with the rest of your investments, you don't pay taxes until you actually take the money out of your IRA. So that could be deferred for multiple years depending upon your income strategy. And the other great thing is that, we know that there's a fixed rate of interest being attributed to this chunk of money without, and you have principal protection insured by the insurance company that you purchased the product through.
It's vanilla. I mean, literally, what we love about this is that, sometimes vanilla is really good, and frankly, this is vanilla. So let's use an example of how this could be used, and we plan on using it in our client situations. We have folks that require monthly income from their retirement accounts as a way for them to maintain their lifestyle. Let's just assume for a moment that $100,000 went into one of these contracts.
Mm-hmm.
That would provide a $4,000
a year
per year interest without us making any withdrawals. If we decided we could then take that interest each year if we wanted to, without penalty, have it sent back to our IRA account, and then use that to help fund our clients' monthly distributions.
Mm-hmm.
Alternatively, if we wanted to pull more, we could pull up to $10,000 per year,
which is in that 10% withdrawal corridor.
Again, leaving that inside the IRA, and then sending that money out on a monthly benefit.
Or we could even use the flip side of this, which is maybe you're an individual who isn't currently taking income. You might say, I'm still going to access that 10% withdrawal so I can free this cash up to do something else with, because 2 years from now things look different.
Yeah, and I felt like this discussion was really important this morning because, as Aaron and Rob know, because this is my job. I meet with all
Your job.
I meet with all the wholesalers, all the fund companies, all the insurance companies.
Oh, and they bring you golf balls,
donuts,
and donuts, take you to lunch.
I prefer ammo.
Golf. I heard you went somewhere.
I prefer ammo.
I prefer the treats,
Well,
even if I don't have them.
Well, Rob, I hate to tell you, but you're like third in line when it comes to
to treats.
When you get to the treats, the girls get to get it.
He got a nice vest.
Thank you.
Well, the cat got a nice vest.
Right. So, what happens is that I visited especially with our investment fund salespeople, and said to each one of them, which is a simple question: show me something
that's not losing money.
That's not losing money. Right. Show me something that's not losing money in the fixed income side. And there was just silence. That's not really acceptable to me. I mean, there have to be options that are out there to do it. And unfortunately, with the Federal Reserve controlling interest rates, they controlled them and kept them low before. Now they're controlling them on the way up. We're not seeing that translating into interest being paid in your savings accounts or money market accounts. It's just wrong. And if our clients are withdrawing money, which many of them do,
right,
and we like to use 4%, which is what's considered the prudent withdrawal rule percentage, this fits perfectly. We've got our principals being protected by the insurer. We believe that they're going to give us our money back. And the 4% is contractually in writing for 5 years. At the end of the 5 years, we can walk away, no penalties,
no fees,
no fees, no issues. So, good option. Hopefully, your financial advisor is talking to you about other options that are available out there. This is outside of it'll come back. Right?
How great would it be if we could get the guaranteed rate of interest up to about 8 or 9%? No, I mean, really, how great would it be?
It probably wouldn't be real great.
I feel like that would be like Jimmy Carter era. But, I mean...
But if we're going to live through Jimmy Carter now, shouldn't we at least have the interest rates?
We don't know where things are going to be.
Certainly
and
not.
The fact is that if borrowing costs are really at that level, it could really restrict the ability for consumers, corporations probably to get money. And frankly, we may end up getting there if at some point, maybe in the future, if this government doesn't figure out a way to get control of its borrowing costs, or maybe more importantly,
spending costs.
Well, spending would be nice, but why aren't they thinking about issuing 20-year, 30-year bonds?
I heard about 50-year bonds,
right,
even.
where we can lock down the interest rates at these very low numbers now versus waiting for them to continue to rise, because most folks don't realize with bonds is that every 1% increase in interest rates reduces bond values by 20%.
Wow.
Right. So we don't want to do that. And
certainly not.
We certainly, keeping that in mind, we've taken some defensive action. So I feel good about that. We have some options. We're talking to clients about that.
So you should definitely talk to your advisors about options.
Absolutely. And you can always call us as well.
That's of course.
For a coaching session. You're 55 and older, ready to retire, 314-863-0008, or send us a text. Right?
That's right. You can send us a text to the office now, 314-863-0008, and we can even respond however you'd prefer. Text, call, email.
Very good. I guess it's time. Let's take our last break of the hour. We come back. It'll be Fire on the Coaches, last couple minutes of this hour, and then we'll be into the Hour of Power, number 2.
This is Mariah, third generation at Newsteaders Fine Jewelry. Buying an engagement ring can be intimidating. At Newsteaders, we ensure complete understanding of your purchase. We offer a choice in both lab and mine-grown diamonds and are able to work with any budget. Let our family help educate you on your choice at Big Ben and Doherty Ferry or at wowdiamonds.com.
Everybody loves to improve their home, but with the prices today, we need to be careful. That's where Renewal by Andersen comes in. Renewal by Andersen windows are great. They come with a real wood-looking window without the maintenance. In fact, Renewal by Andersen windows comes in a myriad of colors, and they control the process so that the windows aren't made until they're measured for your house. Let's talk about savings. 25% off all windows and patio doors at Renewal by Andersen. You want to save some more money? With interest rates going through the roof at Renewal by Andersen, they'll give you no interest, no payments for 24 months. Want to save more money each and every month? Renewal by Andersen windows are so energy efficient. With energy prices going through the roof, you're going to save every single month. Call 1-877-WINDOWS to find out the McGraw special at Renewal by Andersen. That's 1-877-WINDOWS, 1-877-WINDOWS, or RBASTL.com. You want great windows and you want to save money? Renewal by Andersen or RBASTL.com.
Yeah, I'm so stressed. Our business is growing. We've got people all over now.
Ooma.
What is that? Meditation?
I'm recommending Ooma and their all-in-one phone, video, and collaboration solution.
Ooma?
Yep. Switching to Ooma is a cinch. Just $24.95 per month per user, plus taxes and fees.
Ooma.
Now you're feeling it. Visit Ooma.com. That's OOMA.com to learn more. Ooma. Smart communications for the smarter business.
This is Erin Lapidus, the retirement coach. Wouldn't it be great to have a game plan, a real strategy, so that no matter what was going on in the stock market, the economy, or the world, you could be confident about your retirement? Wouldn't that be great? If you're within 5 years of retirement, call me today at 314-863-0008. That's 314-863-0008. Or send me an email at aaron@jblfinancial.com to arrange your free coaching session. Let's get started on your retirement game plan today.
Let's talk about smart choices for your money. It's Straight Talk and Retirement on the Big 550 KTRS. Here are your retirement coaches, Jeff and Erin Lapidus.
That's right. We're back here with Straight Talk on Retirement. We've got about 3 minutes left in this hour, and then we'll be going to hour number 2. Talking about RMDs, we did receive a question from George. We said, Jeff, I'm turning 72 this year. What are the key dates I need to know about taking my first RMD?
Well, the first date you need to be aware of is December 31st of last year, because whatever your account value was on December 31st of last year is going to be the accounting, is going to be the formula they use to calculate your minimum required distributions. So that's the first date you need to be aware of. The second one would be December 31st of this year, because you're going to have to take a minimum required distribution this year. Now, there is a small caveat to that. You can push it off till April 1st of next year. But if you do that, if you go ahead and elect for that option, at that point, you're going to be required to take 2 minimum required distributions that year. So it's not going to be just one, because you'd be making up for this year because you pushed it into next year.
And that's only the first year that you're eligible.
Rob, very succinctly put. Thank you.
Right.
So, Erin, we were talking a little bit about the office this morning. We've got about a minute and a half. What are some of the reasons that people might want to actually delay taking that RMD to taking two in let's say 23 as compared to taking their first one this year?
Sure, I can think of a few examples. First is people tend to be working longer now. If you plan to continue to work till you're 72, maybe you're planning to retire that year. Well, maybe you want to wait for 2023 in order to take those distributions because you already have income for this year. Maybe you're someone that's sold a business, you've sold a property, you have other earned income throughout the year this year that you don't want to pile on top of. Next year's going to feels like it might be a little bit lighter for you. Those would be some of the reasons why you would push off your first required minimum distribution from just starting it immediately. The other important thing is those two numbers won't be the same. At 72, you'll have one distribution, like Rob mentioned, that'll be based on December 31st of the previous year. Then you're going to have a new number for the next year based on whatever December 31st is of this year. Plus, because you're a year older, your percentage is going to rise slightly.
And that's true. And this is going to be a curious year
Account values were higher at the beginning.
Well, account values were significantly higher at the beginning of the year, which means that our clients, unfortunately, may be taking larger distributions than they want to. But at the same time next year, you never know. They could be down. Sure. So even though the percentage increases, the RMDs don't.
Necessarily.
Do us a favor. Don't touch that dial. We'll be back with some more Straight Talk on Retirement after these messages.
The home of John Carney, KTRS AM, FM 106.1, K291CW St. Louis.
From ABC News, I'm Brian Clark. Friday's Supreme Court decision overturning Roe v. Wade led to immediate action.
This is a huge day for Americans and certainly for those who believe that life begins at conception.
That's Oklahoma's Attorney General John O'Connor, one of the first states to implement a ban on abortions once that decision came down. Meanwhile, Wisconsin's Democratic Governor Tony Evers said,
"We're going to fight. We will do whatever we can, whether it's executive or whether it's legal, judicial. But at the end of the day, we cannot give up."
And the contentious issue has led to concerns about violence, says ABC's Aaron Katursky.
Law enforcement agencies say there are already signs the Supreme Court opinion has motivated activists from both sides of the abortion debate to carry out vandalism, harassment, and arson. Potential targets include abortion providers. The FBI has warned locations they need to review security and be mindful that abortion-related extremism is real and dangerous.
The court's decision ended the federal right to an abortion, but ABC legal contributor Kate Shaw, a constitutional law professor at Cardozo Law School, says other rights are now in a good deal of danger. She cites a concurring opinion from Justice Clarence Thomas.
It says in no uncertain terms the court should overrule cases guaranteeing a right to access contraception, prohibiting bans on same-sex sexual intimacy, and guaranteeing a right to same-sex marriage. So I think all of that is now in play.
President Biden said the Supreme Court has made some terrible decisions before he signed a new gun bill into law.
Well, this bill doesn't do everything I want. It does include actions I've long called for that are going to save lives.
It enhances background checks for the youngest gun buyers. The president is now en route to Europe for G7 meetings in Germany. You're listening to ABC News.
You've got bugs. What's your move? A rattly can? Or a simple spritz? Bugs near your kids and pet? Will it be ingredients you can't pronounce? Ew. Or essential oils? Bother the bugs, not your family. Zevo uses essential oils, which attack bugs' biological systems, so Zevo kills bugs, plus is safe for use around people and pets when used as directed. Zevo. People-friendly. Bug deadly. Now at a store near you.
You know when you see a great deal on a phone and then you find out it's not for you? Not at Verizon.
They just gave us all a new iPhone 13.
So we both got the same great deal.
Yep.
Get iPhone 13 on us with select trade-in and 5G unlimited plans for every customer. Current, new, everyone. To show the love. Only from Verizon. $799.99, 128 gigabytes only. Device payment purchase with new or upgrade smartphone line required. Less up to $800 trade-in/promo credit applied over 36 months. 0% APR. Trade-in conditions apply.
Authorities in Oslo, Norway have raised the terror alert level to its highest level after an overnight shooting. ABC's Lama Hassan has details from the foreign desk.
At least 2 people were killed and 10 critically wounded in what Oslo police are now calling a terror attack. Overnight in Norway city centre, the attacker firing several shots in 3 locations, including a popular bar with the LGBTQ plus community. Police quickly swooping in just a few minutes after the shooting began, arresting the suspect and seizing a handgun and an automatic weapon.
A Pride event in the city set for today has been canceled. Authorities say the suspect was known to police, but only for minor crimes. He is a Norwegian citizen originally from Iran. From Italy, the Pope's schedule has led to rumors of a possible pending retirement. ABC's Megan Williams has details from Rome.
Pope Francis's recent health struggles, worsening mobility, and the unusual timing of an important Vatican gathering have led to increased speculation he could be planning to retire. Francis called for a consistory to appoint new cardinals in August, a month where usually nothing happens at the Vatican.
I think he wants to make some big announcement,
says Vatican expert Robert Mickens. Mickens and others think that could be retirement, though not right away. A top advisor to the Pope dismissed the rumors as nothing more than a, quote, cheap soap opera.
This is ABC News.
chances are you're jamming in your car right now. And since Liberty Mutual customizes car insurance so you only pay for what you need, Limu and I are going to show you some safe car dance moves. Hit it. Everybody, check your blind spots real quick. Now hands on the wheel. Put them 10 in 2 and move your head like a bird do. Only pay for what you need at LibertyMutual.com.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
Brian Clark, ABC News.
Now, back to Straight Talk on Retirement on the Big 550 KTRS. Here are Jeff and Aaron Lapidus.
And Rob.
Oh.
Okay, Rob? Brought you in.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Welcome to Hour 2 of Straight Talk on Retirement. One day before
your
one of the all great
days of the year.
My favorite day of the year.
Your day of birth, the day that you came to this earth 127 years ago.
I'm glad you drove separately.
Look, you cannot even get me with that now.
Yeah.
I have my own chauffeur.
I'm going to say, what'd you get me? But I already know. So
right, because you asked me for it. But I did get you something else.
Nice.
I got you a text. It's
Beautiful.
Your favorite question, too.
Uh-huh.
Please explain what I-bonds are and how they work.
No.
I will do it. I will do it briefly for everyone. This is a hot topic of conversation as inflation has been a primary conversation over the last 6 months. I-bonds are available. You can only purchase them in $10,000 increments.
They're long-term treasury bonds.
They're long-term treasury bonds that you hold for 5 years.
Which are being sold at incredibly deep discounts. The
That is correct.
The government isn't offering 9% interest.
Well,
it's the yield.
The yield is 9%.
So what we're talking about here is a bond that may have sold for $10,000. That's market value today is like $3,000.
Because it trades just like every other bond does.
Right. So you got a yield for a little while, but interest rates continue to rise. Guess what?
Your market value is going to continue to decrease.
And they are decreasing at this point.
Especially if inflation starts to decrease, then that's going to create some issues too with future purchases of I-bonds. So
and you can only purchase how much, babe?
$10,000 per person until they mature, or $10,000 per person per year. My apologies. So you could potentially ladder them over time. However, you need to hold them to maturity in order to get the full rate of interest that you're looking for here. And you know, as we kind of mentioned in many previous shows, this might be a small piece of your overall fixed income strategy, but it's truly most likely a small piece because, again, you can only purchase $10,000 increments unless you're using another type of vehicle like a mutual fund or an index fund that offers.
Very good. So I would like to add a comment to our last segment.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't talk about annuities very often, and frankly, we don't initiate conversations with them because they require long disclosures, which we've already made. Annuities, mutual funds, I-bonds, these are tools.
Right.
That's all that they are. Especially on the fixed income side, especially with annuities, these are not substitutes, in my mind, for market investing. They're not. Okay? We're not doing this out of fear. What we're doing this for is, frankly, is to lock down a specific interest rate and really stabilize the market value of our fixed income investment. So we're taking a portion of our, not all of it, just a portion of this fixed income strategy and basically locking in a 4% yield.
Well, right, like you said, we use different tools for different purposes.
Right.
That
Exactly.
doesn't mean that every tool, that the one tool becomes the purpose for all jobs now.
Yeah, and what we were looking for, I mean, was something that would be flexible. And we don't think about annuities being flexible, but the truth is, in this particular case, we're looking at a contract that would give us a 10% withdrawal privilege. We could basically exit it, theoretically, half of it within 5 years. At the end of the 5 years, we can just continue it or we can walk away without a penalty. And so,
also to kind of
I love that.
Preempt even the 10% withdrawal rate, we're only you should be cognizant, and we are definitely cognizant of only using a certain portion of client assets, so that leaves the remainder of their assets liquid and available. So the goal here is not to stuff all of the money in the hopes that you won't need it. It's to truly plan out your goals here, and knowing that I don't need every single dollar tomorrow, how much of it can we, to use a phrase, lock away that's earning a specific amount of interest that we could access partially over the next 5 years. So there is planning involved before we just before you're just purchasing investment vehicles or products.
And it just happens that this vanilla solution happens to be a very good one at this particular, in my mind, at least at this particular moment in time.
So I have a question. It's not general, but I'm going to generalize it for everyone. Well, it's a specific bond fund question, but I think basically what I would prefer to read is, how are short-term investment-grade bond funds faring?
Lousy.
Like all bond funds.
Everything is going negative, and the reason is that even those maturity dates are shorter. Usually, a short-term bond fund usually has a 5-year or less maturity. Even if it's a 3, I don't care if it's a 1 year.
Rates are raising so fast.
The moment those interest rates go up, the bonds that are held in that portfolio, or either as a fund or if you own it personally, have gone down. Period. And the interest that you're earning, unfortunately, can't keep up with it. I mean, we've seen literally more than a 1% increase in interest rates in the last 3 months. We know that those bond funds are all down. Unfortunately, they're down very similarly to what's happened on the equity side. So our purpose, the purpose of our previous conversation was saying, hey, we're trying to find an option that's out there that we can take that electrical tape, put it over one of those tires temporarily while we're waiting for the other side to work. So I hope that answers, babe. I mean, all bond funds, and truthfully, the longer the maturity of the bond, the more it's affected by interest rates.
Right. I mean, I like to use that analogy you gave me before, which is like if you think about a bond as a seesaw, if you are sitting out towards the edges, which would be a longer maturity, you're going to feel the tilt of the seesaw much more pronounced than if you were sitting in the very center, which would be, a 1, 2, 3 year maturity on those bonds. So,
it's time for us to move subjects, I think. And let's go to our smart choices about our healthcare segment, which is sponsored every single week
by our very good friends at Aetna and Anthem of Missouri.
Thank you so much for sponsoring them, especially the day before
your Medicare birthday.
The old man, at least in this place, becomes
the oldest
Medicare
man.
eligible.
Not old man, just oldest.
Grown up. 65 is the new 30, okay? So get over
it. The new 30?
That means the 30-year-olds in this room, you're now in diapers, so it's cool. Well, it's interesting.
Please, on your birthday.
It's taken a while.
Has it now?
64 years and 364 days to become to Medicare eligibility.
Have you been waiting for this moment?
Well, I really haven't, because it isn't because I was going to become a grown-up, which, your mother still would greatly dispute. Argue vehemently about it. But it's healthcare choices. I have an opportunity to, as I like to say, with healthcare, go into heaven, which is Medicare. Or do I continue to drain the resources of my corporation and being a member of their company-sponsored health plan? Now, I know that my employer...
Me?
Yeah. Isn't going to ask me to voluntarily resign
from the plan?
Right.
Or the position.
Now, even though our company has less than 25 employees, even though we're continuing to grow, if you have over 25 employees, you can't ask your employees to leave, because that's a violation.
Right.
And you can get fined by the federal government and the
labor, I believe, department.
Right. That's right, the Labor Relations Board, because we call that the Medicare secondary payer rules, but we know Medicare, for someone that works for a company that is under 25 employees, Medicare becomes primary and their health care coverage becomes secondary. But you're not asking me to leave today,
yet.
which is nice.
Mm-hmm.
We're not talking about leaving the plan. I'm not leaving the building, because
What would you do?
I own the building. Okay. Okay, but number 2, I'm not going anywhere.
You're not?
No.
Oh, good.
I'm really enjoying the show. I'm enjoying our clients, and your mother also has not given me permission.
Well, she did just say that it was just such a joy to be married to Peter Pan.
Well, good for her. But at the same time, so I'm not going anywhere. That's just a fact.
Okay, great. We don't want you to.
But the question becomes, I don't have to enroll in Part B.
No.
I actually don't think I've actually gotten anything from the Gov yet.
Well, you won't.
Okay, about Part B, I won't.
So you won't. Because you may get a little letter in the mail that says you're eligible to apply for Medicare. However, I don't think that the federal government sends those out. Who I do believe sends all of the threatening material out are the insurance companies, because they're vying for business. So, you have to make a decision now. It's time to enroll. Call us. We'll save you. All of those things. But the reason that you haven't received any communication, unlike others, might be if you are an individual that elected your Social Security benefit before you turn 65, they're going to automatically enroll you in Social Security. So then you have a different choice to make, which is you have to decline your benefit and send your card back. Whereas, Dad, since you're not taking Social Security yet, the government's not going to hound you to do what you're supposed to do if that's the case. In your particular case, each insurance company for employers that have less than 25 employees gets to make the decision if they are going to require Medicare to be primary or not. The insurance provider that we use for our group health insurance does not require that you enroll in Medicare in order to maintain the benefit. Because, and this is the trap that some individuals turning 65 could fall into. If you're an individual turning 65, still working, and you are working for an employer with less than 25 employees, and their health insurance says that you need to have Medicare Part B in order to maintain coverage, what happens is Medicare becomes the primary payer for you if you've elected it or not. So, for an example, if our employer-sponsored plan, the plan that I helped select, said that you needed your Medicare Part B benefit and you did not enroll, and then you had a claim, what would happen is the insurance company theoretically passes the claim to Medicare. Well, there's no Medicare there because you didn't enroll, so that means the claim comes to you, you pay what Medicare should have paid, the insurance company steps in, pays what they're willing to pay based on your plan, based on what Medicare pays, and then you might have a second bill for you at the end, which is the balance between what Medicare should have paid, what the insurance company has already agreed to pay, and then what you would owe. So
I don't like that.
That would be so it's always our recommendation that if you're turning 65 and you just have a quick question, please send us an email. Franklin is our Medicare specialist, so Frank Lin at jblfinancial.com. He can answer all of those questions for you quickly so you don't have to fall into a potential mistake where, you're turning 65, you work for a small business, and now you have an undue burden when you filed a claim.
Well, Frank and I had an interesting conversation. I want to say it was last week or maybe
it was like 3 weeks ago.
About how this AEP...
IEP, or SEP, IEP,
whatever it is, the timing, and so I think that was kind of curious. And
just to touch on that, would you like?
No.
Okay.
Because it was very confusing to me. What it really came down to is that if I was truly interested in considering leaving our plan, then what I needed to do is I need to contact Frank 60 days beforehand. And then enroll in Medicare for an effective date of
June 1st.
Or I guess it was June 1st, right?
Well,
I need to do that, and since I didn't do that,
there's a waiting period here.
There's a waiting period, which could be the earliest would be for me to get on is August, or maybe it's September, whatever it is. I'm sorry, I'm not going.
Well, just to demystify,
you took my chair, but I'm not giving up my office, and I'm not giving up my health care plan.
Well, just to demystify a little bit, Medicare has many enrollment opportunities, which makes it convenient for enrollees. However, those enrollment opportunities have a hierarchy, which means if you are in the middle of two overlapping enrollment periods, you have to take the one Medicare says is primary. And if that means that you have to wait based on the rules of that election period, then that's where you could run into a gap in coverage. Or I would say for most people in this situation, you're not running into a gap in coverage, but you're running into an elevated expense. Because, for example, using this case, Dad, if you decided today that you wanted to enroll in Medicare and you were enrolled for August 1st, well, one, you could stay on our group health insurance plan and continue to pay the premiums. If that's not an option, then you could pay for COBRA. If you've been disenrolled from the plan because you've left, you could pay for COBRA to make up those several months difference so you're not without coverage. So it just could become potentially more costly for you.
Well, I guess the other option that I had was, since I have this 3 months before, 3 months after, I guess if I don't want to really mess things up, and you'll correct me because I'm confused, that's why I have you guys, is that I could wait until, let's see, that's September.
Right. Then you can enroll any month you want.
And then I can enroll and I can get on.
Correct.
But if it's before then, I may have a waiting period.
Correct, because AEP, which is your initial election period, the 7 months that surround your birthday,
so that means
each month has a different waiting.
So that means next quarter.
Correct.
We're going to have this conversation again to say, does it make sense? And then obviously I have to deal with your mom too, right?
I wouldn't say deal with. I would say consider.
Well, we have to deal with her coverage. Hey, listen.
I'm just trying to make your trip to the Tower Grove farmers market as enjoyable as possible for you.
That's going to be fun after this. Let's take our first break of the hour. Of this hour. When we come back, we'll be here to answer questions at 314-931-5877 or 84126 from the text line. I'm Jeff Lapidus, the retirement coach.
I'm Aaron Lapidus, the retirement coach.
And I'm Robert Markham, your insurance guy.
And we'll be right back.
If you are a person who desires the very best, your Lemke Appliance Center has great news for you. Now, through the end of June, your Lemke Appliance Center and KitchenAid have teamed up to bring you special midsummer pricing. Now is your chance to turn your kitchen into that extra special place of KitchenAid achievement. Everything needed, from KitchenAid wall ovens to warming drawers, to beverage centers, to wine cellars, to custom ice makers. All the very best, and now being featured during Lemke's KitchenAid Midsummer event. Now is the time to act. Lemke has everything you need for your custom KitchenAid kitchen during this Midsummer extravaganza. Now at your locally owned and operated Lemke Appliance Center, 200 West Lockwood in the heart of Webster Groves. Be sure to ask about our multi-purchase rebates.
Rich Irvin does not seem to understand how hard the taxpayers work for the money.
That's former Aurora Alderman Rick Lawrence, who wants you to know what he knows about Mayor Richard Irvin. So does real estate developer Dan Heitz, who said Aurora businesses needed Richard Irvin to stand with them against Pritzker's shutdown, but Irvin stood with Pritzker instead, says Heitz.
He followed Pritzker's lead, and he didn't stand up for the people of Aurora. He stood up for big government and big governor.
When Aurora residents needed Richard Irvin to protect them from rioters, Irvin stood with Black Lives Matter, according to Alderman Rick Lawrence.
Our police were told to stand down.
Dan Heitz remembers.
Basically, Richard Irvin dropped the ball. Protesters started rioting and burning. Police just standing there watching.
Richard Irvin stood with a governor who locked down Illinois and rioters who burned down his own city. It's time for Illinois conservatives to stand up and vote no on Richard Irvin.
If anybody confuses Rich Irvin with a conservative, they really didn't do their homework.
Paid for by people who play by the rules pack.
The Missouri Laborers Union and their contractors build our communities. Chances are your church, school, grocery store, or gas station was built by contractors using union laborers. They take great pride in their work and accomplishments and love to go by an old project and say, I built that. The men and women of the Missouri Laborers Union and their contractors, taking pride in building our communities. Go to buildunion.com for more information. That's buildunion.com.
Basement with a Y. That's Basement E.
It's Basement T.
Basement E?
It's Basement T.
Oh, Basement T. Basement T. I get it. That's the basement waterproofing and foundation repair experts at Woods Basement Systems.
Right. The All Things Basement T experts at Woods Basement Systems will provide you a free estimate and dry up that wet basement and fix that cracked foundation. Call 800-388-9326 or go online to woodsbasementsystems.com.
That's woodsbasementsystems.com.
This is Jeff Lapidus, the retirement coach. Wouldn't it be great to have a game plan, a real strategy, so that no matter what was going on in the stock market, the economy, or the world, that you could be confident about your retirement? Wouldn't that be great? If you're within 5 years of retirement, call me today at 314-863-0008. That's 314-863-0008. Or send me an email, jeff@jblfinancial.com, to arrange your free coaching session. Let's get started on your retirement game plan today.
Let's talk about smart choices for your money. It's Straight Talk and Retirement on the Big 550 KTRS. Here are your retirement coaches, Jeff and Aaron Lapidus.
10 to 185 here on the Big 550 KTRS, Talk Radio St. Louis. We're back with some more Straight Talk on Retirement to answer your questions at 314-931-5877 or 84126 from the text line. I know we just recently did get a text message in, Rob.
Yes, we did.
Which you were able to wrangle from Aaron. Not an easy task.
Not easy at all, but I managed it. Julie wants to know, can I borrow money from my IRA and then pay it back later? Well, Julie, here's the thing. Anytime money comes out of an IRA, it's a distribution. There are no loans ever. So if it's coming out, it's a distribution. So it's important that we understand that.
Yes, that's very good. And secondarily, there is a period of time of which you could return that money. It's 60 days.
Without a tax penalty.
Exactly. And you can also only do that one time per year, no matter how many IRAs that you have.
One time per year per one IRA account. So you can literally only do this one time. You can have 5 IRAs and you need a certain amount of money. It can only come from one of them. Or if there's a reason you have 5, you need to combine them all in order to get the money out to return it. It's a really important piece of this. It's not like one time from 10 accounts. Well, that was an actual issue that arose a couple of years ago. Someone was attempting to do this, and they needed several hundred.
The IRS clamped down on it.
But they needed more money than was in just one IRA, so they pulled it from 2, but they did it one time, thinking this is one transaction, but the IRS sees it as 2 transactions, one from each IRA, meaning one of those IRAs, even if you wanted to put the money back, is not subject to that waiver of the taxation.
You know, and the reason that they put a kibosh to this deal is because people were using these, we'll call them temporary distributions, which is, and then putting the money back, as a way of almost making an interest-free loan
to themselves
from their IRAs. And the IRS says, we don't really like that.
It's the same idea as several years ago. They changed the rules on Social Security where you're able to do it. You're able to have a one-time do-over the year that you elect your Social Security benefit. If you decide you change your mind, you want to pay the money back, you have to do it within the first year, and you can only do it one time. Versus being able to have a 5-year, income from Social Security and then paying it all back.
Right. I don't know if Rob wanted to add anything to that, but
we'll know when he wants to speak.
You pretty much put a nice bow on that one.
Okay.
I mean, I think Julie understands exactly what the lay of the land is.
The answer is
no.
No.
Please don't.
No. And Rob, I think you made it. I mean, again, I thought you did this very well, which is there are no loans from IRAs.
No borrowing.
Period.
Nothing.
Anything you take is a distribution, and obviously, depending on age, those could create penalties themselves if you're pre-59.5. And
taxable events.
Exactly. And there are reasons, and also there are obviously alternatives to making distributions from retirement accounts to get to where you want to go. And we'll talk about that.
Right. Maybe if Julie's still listening and she can let us know why she needs the money, we might be able to come up with an alternative strategy.
Sure. So let's go to our Rockstar segment of the week. and this is one that I really had fun with. I visited with Dick the other day. He's 63 years old. He works for a major credit card company and lives in Chesterfield. And, you know, we work with a lot of folks for some of these major credit card companies, and we're not allowed to use their names, but they generally have fabulous benefits. And at the same time,
they can be a little volatile, though.
Yeah, similar working with someone who works for a large
airplane
distributor
manufacturer
or airplane manufacturer. These folks have great benefits, and they work for good employers. Dick's wife, Judy.
Where's Jane?
I'm leaving that for another day.
You're not even interested in my jokes anymore.
No.
No.
First of all, you didn't even see that movie. Okay.
You're right. No, I saw the remake. Thank you.
Dick, Jane, and Sally. Okay. Is currently the chief operations officer for their household. Or
so
like your mom, who's the chief mom officer for her.
So that means Dick gets to go to work away from all of the stress, and then Judy has to deal with all of it.
Well, Judy likes
it's a good deal.
Judy likes it better that way. Trust me.
Okay.
I
Control. All right.
Etc. If you knew Dick, you understand that he resembles that remark. So they have about $2 million in retirement assets and about $250,000 in savings and outside investments. The cool thing for them is no mortgage.
Living out in Chesterfield, no mortgage, and $2 million.
They're rock stars.
Well, you know, you would think they're rock stars, but they're a little nervous because they also happen to have a very nice lifestyle that they've created. Their income goal was about $12,000 a month.
And so we need to gross that up for taxes by, usually we say 15%, but because this income need is a little bit higher, we say 20%. So that means that they really need about $14,400 a month in order to meet their current lifestyle.
Right. Now, we know that Dick does have a pension of about $4,000. His Social Security benefits, when he decides to take them, right now he's 63, so that means his normal retirement age is not for another 3 years. Would be $3,200. Judy's, again, would be about $1,800.
So that's half of almost.
Right. A little better than half. And so their deficit, even if all the faucets were turned on, was about $5,400 a month. So, you know, they need about $64,000 a year. So based on our prudent withdrawal rate of 4%, how much capital do they need, babe?
That means they need about $1.6 million of capital in order to generate a 4% withdrawal of $64,000 a year.
And, you know, it was curious because as we went through our process and these numbers, and we did these up on our whiteboard, I could see that, honestly, the tension was kind of coming away a little bit.
Well, because they saw how the numbers were coming, how their personal numbers were coming together.
So they knew they had about $2.3 million. They also knew that they needed about 1.6, so they had a little bit of cushion there. But, you know, Judy looked at me and said, what about the next 3 years?
Until Dick reaches Social Security eligibility and we can turn at least one of those faucets on.
Yes, his normal retirement date. So if we look at this, we said, well, okay, they need obviously $14,400 for 12 months for 3 years, about $518,000, which was their total before, and obviously that'd be reduced by their pension. So really it's more like $120,000 times 3 years or $360,000.
Because Dick would be eligible for his pension immediately, but Social Security we considered waiting.
Exactly. So if we say, okay, if we have to add that $360,000 of capital need to the $1.6 million, which they'll need when all the faucets are turned on, then guess what?
So really, that's the
They're
most
still rock stars.
and that's really the most conservative way to look at it, which is if we took a chunk of capital and said we're going to set this aside, assuming no growth, we'll still be able to send that $14,400 to you $10,400 reduced by the pension amount to you every single month for the next 3 years, and then as these other faucets turn on, Dick's Social Security comes in, we can reduce that $10,000 by $3,000, and then when Judy's Social Security becomes eligible, we can reduce it by another $1,800. So that's really what our process looks like. And this is the case for many of our Rockstar clients, which is they might be retiring a few years before they're Social Security eligible. So we have a higher rate of withdrawal to start, which precipitously begins to drop as new income sources become available.
we're turning down the faucets. And I think what's also fun for these folks is that, and I'm sure you're probably thinking this to yourself as well, well, if Paul decides that, I'm sorry, if Dick decides that he
is Paul's Judy's boyfriend?
Yeah. If Dick decides that he makes a commitment that he's not going back to work, and we know Judy obviously is also not working, does he have to wait to take his Social Security? And the truth is no, doesn't necessarily have to. He could begin to take it. That would obviously require us to have a little more capital
over the long term,
over the long haul, which is fine. But they have enough room to do that.
Well, and the other thing that we have left out is that there is going to be a little bit of a gap here for health insurance if Dick does retire.
Yes.
Exactly at 63. There'll be 2 years of insurance needs for both Dick and Judy pre-Medicare eligibility. Then Judy has a total of 4 years to wait before her Medicare eligibility. So we might need to build a little bit more into their income needs for a couple of years. That will precipitously drop as Medicare eligibility comes into focus. Or the other thing is that many of these major corporations that are located in St. Louis often offer retiree plans that might be better than COBRA or using a private insurer. So that's an important comparison to draw before we pull the trigger so we can really key in on how much we need every month.
Yeah, so I think at the end of the day, it's fun is that these folks have options. Mm-hmm. They've been terrific savers and obviously investors. They've worked for great companies. And having the opportunity to have this laid out on the board right in front of them so they could really see all their options, I think made them a little more comfortable about where they were going to go. And frankly, it really answered the question, which is, do I retire today or do I work? Do I want to still continue to work, maybe so that I'm not going to be paying $18,000 a year for me and my spouse or health care benefits? Maybe continuing to accrue retirement benefits, not only pension benefits, but also 401k contributions, maybe other contributions I'm making to, as an example, a Roth IRA that I'm doing for Judy in this particular case.
How much?
Lots of fun, lots of options.
How much husband time does Judy really want?
Well,
that's another question too.
It's all good. It's all good. But that was a little bit of fun with Dick and Judy, and we tend to have really have a lot of fun with all of the folks who come visit us with coaching sessions, because the truth is most of them, they think they're rock stars. They're hoping that they're rock stars. And at the end of the day, that's what we do.
I think it's really cool. I think, they're in the great position, or Dick's in the great position of knowing that he can pull the trigger whenever he's ready. And yes. I think that not only gives people a lot of, the clarity of having a coaching session and seeing your personalized numbers up on the board, having that relate back to the savings that you've created for yourself over time breeds a lot of confidence, but also the fact that you have done all of this work over the course of your working life and which really basically opens up more options for you. And I think that creates a lot of confidence, knowing that you're in the driver's seat versus I have to work, I have to stay here for a certain amount of time. These are all choices that you get to make.
Yeah, and obviously as we're right in the middle of a market downturn, do I now have to wait?
That's a great question, and I've even seen articles written about that, which is do we retire in a bear market?
And the answer is you should retire when you want.
You didn't live your life based on what the stock market was doing while you were working.
Right. And the fact is that if we, at the end of the day, we have to start with the numbers. We always talk about the math. How much cash flow do you need? How much are you spending? What are your sources? And how much capital is required to create the income flow you need to make up that deficit, and for what time? Honey, I was going to say for the folks that have been, I want to call it in the queue, that have been waiting
to retire
for the last year or so, that, hey, I want to do it this year, etc. We haven't turned anybody away.
No, and I think that I've read, and I'm sure many of our listeners have started to now read the abundance of articles coming out about should I retire in a bear market? What happens if I'm retired during a bear market or retiring into one? I think one of the pieces that a lot of those articles leave out that we often talk about during coaching sessions, bear market or otherwise, is debt liquidation, or what are my outflows, what's my current capital, and what are my potential expenses. Maybe one of the things that we're working towards during this market, maybe you don't want to invest anymore right now. That's your personal decision. Maybe we're redirecting some of that money to pay down debt so your expenses are less in retirement. I can think of big ones like mortgages, car payments, things that are going to take big bites out of those, out of your expenses on a monthly basis. Maybe that's where you're repositioning your family math, as we like to call it.
Right. I think what you're saying, and I think you did a good job, which is, how do we make our inflows more valuable? Well, the way that we do that, easy way, is called reduce the outflows. Right. That's a big one. Right. And we're not. And again, I think what's important here is that you realize we're not talking about, and we never discuss,
lifestyle changes, budgeting.
Exactly, because your life is your life, and we know that unless folks are put under significant financial strain, they don't change their habits. You just don't. I mean, you really just don't. And
that's okay.
And it's okay. And so we very rarely hear, and we certainly don't encourage, any conversations about, I can save money here, I can save money
I'm going to spend less.
Because the truth is, we love you, but we don't believe you.
Well, I think what happens more frequently is you just replace things. Like, we talk about this a lot, which is there's an expense to going to work that's not just gas prices right now, that's always existed. Well, you just reabsorb that back into your budget other ways.
Well, you do.
You're not going to just save that money.
And also what's curious is that when we're going through this process, like we were talking about with Dick and Judy, when that Social Security faucets are turned on, we have to have a conversation about turning
off
our faucets down.
Right. When the new money comes in, and the old money has to stop going out.
I want to tell you, and a lot of times this is like I don't know, Ali Frazier. I mean, this is this is like a major boxing match. It's like, hey, here's our game plan.
We all agreed to it.
We all agreed, and this is how we were going to be. Well, you have to take all of it. Well, it's okay. I mean, and obviously we're renegotiating with our clients.
What I love about this conversation the most is, Dad, you and I'll have a coaching session with a current client. We put the plan in place, and we say, okay, 2 years from now, we're going to turn that faucet down. We'll give you a call and let you know. Well, who's the one that has to make the phone call that says, hey, sweet clients, your Social Security started. How much was it? We want to reduce your distributions by that amount. It's not you. I'm the one that has to track them all down.
Well, honey, you love to talk on the phone, so why would I want to?
Why would you
take that away from you? But they're interesting conversations, and they're important. And I think that, like you said, when something falls out of your cash flow, somehow it gets replaced with other things. Just like we talk about, is this my last car?
Never.
Well, come on. People say, oh, this is my last. Come on.
When was the last time? Well, I shouldn't say it like this. When's the last time the average person owned a car for up to 30 years? Usually don't see that.
No. If you go 10 years, great for you. But with all the new fun and the technology, it doesn't make sense.
You just want a new one.
It's new. But what's also new is we got to take our second break of the hour. It's time. And when we come back, we'll be coming back with answering your questions, other topics that we have. 314-931-5877 or 84126 from the text line. I'm Jeff Lapidus, the retirement coach.
I'm Aaron Lapidus, the retirement coach.
Diana from Newsteaders Fine Jewelers here to remind you, we don't just offer the best pieces, we offer one of the last master hand engravers in our country. My father can create timeless, personal, and unforgettable pieces. Come by our showroom at the corner of Big Ben and Doherty Ferry or learn more online at wowdiamonds.com.
Everybody loves to improve their home, but with the prices today, we need to be careful. That's where Renewal by Andersen comes in. Renewal by Andersen windows are great. They come with a real wood-looking window without the maintenance. In fact, Renewal by Andersen windows comes in a myriad of colors, and they control the process so that the windows aren't made until they're measured for your house. Let's talk about savings. 25% off all windows and patio doors at Renewal by Andersen. You want to save some more money? With interest rates going through the roof at Renewal by Andersen, they'll give you no interest, no payments for 24 months. Want to save more money each and every month? Renewal by Andersen windows are so energy efficient. With energy prices going through the roof, you're going to save every single month. Call 1-877-WINDOWS to find out the McGraw special at Renewal by Andersen. That's 1-877-WINDOWS, 1-877-WINDOWS, or RBASTL.com. You want great windows and you want to save money? Renewal by Andersen or RBASTL.com.
The best barbecue in town can be right out your back door with a new gas, charcoal, or pellet grill from Gas Appliance Service or the Fireplace and Grill Center. With one of the widest selections of grills in the area from Weber, Broil King, MHP, Broil Master, Kamado Joe, Blaze, and Pit Barrel, you'll find the perfect grill to meet your culinary needs at a price to match your budget. Their knowledgeable staff will show you the features and benefits of each grill and help you with your selection. Gas Appliance Service and the Fireplace and Grill Center offers free assembly on all portable grills they sell. You can choose from an array of grill accessories to enhance your barbecue or add more flavor to the best barbecue in town with a large selection of rubs, sauces, and smoking woods. So if you want a long-lasting grill that will make your friends and family say, wow, this is the best barbecue in town, go see the grill experts at Gas Appliance Service in Maryland Heights by Westport or the Fireplace and Grill Center a quarter mile east of 141 on Manchester Road.
This is Aaron Lapidus, the retirement coach. Wouldn't it be great to have a game plan, a real strategy, so that no matter what was going on in the stock market, the economy, or the world, you could be confident about your retirement? Wouldn't that be great? If you're within 5 years of retirement, call me today at 314-863-0008. That's 314-863-0008. Or send me an email at aaron@jblfinancial.com to arrange your free coaching session. Let's get started on your retirement game plan today.
Now back to Straight Talk on Retirement on the Big 550 KTRS. Here are Jeff and Aaron Lapidus.
Welcome back. More Straight Talk on Retirement. I'm Jeff Lapidus, the retirement coach.
I'm Aaron Lapidus, the retirement coach.
And I'm Robert Markham, your insurance guy.
I like it. Your insurance guy. He is.
I'm glad he was awake this
He's
time.
our insurance guy.
He was a little slow on the uptick on that last.
You know what? It's only week 4. You don't get to mock quite yet.
I know that we do have some texts, and we obviously want to let you know the text line is open. Love to hear from you. 84126 from the text line or 931-5877. Our producer, Eric Gabrielson.
Just young, waiting and wanting.
Handsome. Waiting, wanting, and willing to answer your phone calls. 931-5877. Good. You got some.
I have the best text. Happy birthday, Jeff. Welcome to the 65 and over club. Maybe you'll get like one of those members only jackets.
It's like Star Trek. I'm one of the grups now.
What happens when you get to 72? What do you call yourself then? An adult? Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, great. I just checking
adult,
on
adult, grown up, whatever.
Just checking on the terminology.
It's nice to be a grown up.
And we've got a text from Kevin, and Kevin wants to know, are there any tax penalties for rolling over his 401k into a Roth IRA?
You know, that's a good question, Kev, because there isn't any penalties, but there could be pain. Right?
I knew that's where you were going. I felt
pain. I mean, I was thinking of Rocky 3. Pain.
Is that Mr. T?
Yeah, Mr. T. Because you know, when you convert your 401k,
which is a pre-tax, well, as long as it's a traditional 401k pre-tax vehicle,
to a Roth IRA,
which is a retirement vehicle but with after-tax money,
you have to pay. That's considered a taxable distribution.
Ouch.
Which means that you've got to pick it all up as income. Now, one of the negatives about this, and Erin mentioned this earlier in her own astute manner, as she usually does, is that let's just say that there's 100. Let's not do something outrageous because otherwise people pass out and die on the road here. But
it'd be unrealistic. Let's just say that.
Yeah, let's even do a semi-unrealistic one. Let's say somebody had $100,000 401k.
Nice.
And they want to move it over to and make it into a Roth. That's fine.
Is it?
Yeah. So let's assume also that they're in a low tax bracket today.
Maybe they left their job involuntarily.
Right.
They were terminated, so they have no income.
Right. And let's just say that only 20% is taxable. So Uncle Sam's going to be required. I mean, you're required to withhold 20%
off the top.
That means that $80,000 is going into the Roth, not $100,000 unless you pay the taxes yourself.
With money outside of the IRA, a 401k rather.
Is it worth it?
But also that first 20% is just the beginning because depending upon what other income you possibly have, that $80,000 is still taxable to you. Yep. It's just that, we don't know what the remainder of those taxes are.
So the answer to this is, Kev, I don't think so.
I would just like to say, I think a lot of people have this on their mind, not just because of the CARES Act with the 10-year rule of distributions for beneficiary IRA assets at death. I think a lot of people have taxation on their mind because many people talk about taxes in retirement and saving on taxes. Well, right.
No.
But the reality is, why would you want to pay 20, 30+% in taxes while you're still working on money you've already saved? Whereas when you get to retirement, your income is automatically going to drop because most likely you're going to, like we do with our clients, we fund to their net income need. We don't fund to their gross pay. You don't live off of your gross pay. So if you're making $100,000, you might be bringing home something close to $45,000 once you've made all of your retirement plan contributions, you've paid all of your taxes. Well, if you weren't living off $100,000, why would we ever send you $100,000 to live off of in the future? So you went from the 20% tax bracket down to the 10% tax bracket.
Well put, honey.
So while you're making distributions from your IRAs, you're only paying 10% versus the 20-30% you're electing to pay by doing these conversions. And then if we take it one step further and you get to 72, we've talked about your requirements less than 4%. Most people are already pulling that from their accounts anyways to make their lives continue to work. So why are you shooting yourself in the? Why are you giving the government money in advance? They get a lot.
I mean, it's honestly a reality check.
Whoa.
If you want to try to stay awake for 5 minutes,
right?
If you go to Google and you put no, seriously, I don't care. It doesn't matter what browser you just put in federal income tax rates, married, filing jointly,
and you'll get the table. It'll come right up.
You'll see that you have to have earned income of at least $89,000 to be in the 10% bracket. Now, as Aaron was saying, is that if you're earning $120,000 a year, which isn't a bad wage, you're probably only getting $60,000 or $70,000 net. Realistically, net.
And you're still in the 10% tax bracket if you're married.
You're still exactly so. 90% of our clients plus are in the 10% effective tax bracket period.
You also have more flexibility in retirement of your income because unlike wages, you pay what you're paid. You pay taxes on what you're paid. Yeah. With retirement, you have options of where you're pulling money from potentially to mitigate your tax bracket.
And again, for us, everything is about tax efficiency and frankly also tax effectiveness. But
we've got some.
But honestly, anyone that you hear that makes any type of an illusion that people pay equal or more taxes in retirement,
not realistic.
It's just not true. It just ain't true.
You know what? There is a listener out there right now from your past dad, and he said, I knew your dad. He was such a nice man. So I don't know what's happened to you. I don't know what you've done to this texter. Or maybe they just put it in the wrong tense.
or it was like one of these. That was all that was written?
Just as an aside, I knew your dad. He was such a nice man. I know it's not your dad, and I know it's not Rob's dad, so it's got to be my dad.
My God. I guess I don't know. Maybe I grew up.
Grumpy.
What can I tell you? I had 2 daughters. It changed me. Okay, what can I say?
For the better.
And
the better.
And it looks like we have one more.
Another text
from David.
We've got about 5 minutes left, so
Good.
please do.
David.
Yeah, David wants to know, and he's currently working, and his wife is not.
Good for her.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Awesome. Is she able to contribute to an IRA?
It's a good question. Technically, she's
maybe
right, depending upon David's income.
Maybe.
And right, depending upon David's income, she can. And technically, it's not her that's contributing; it would be David in the form of a spousal IRA. So you have to have earned income in order to make contributions to IRA or Roth IRA accounts.
Which David
but David has, so he might be eligible for a spousal IRA. If you're earning, there is a limitation on spousal IRAs based on joint income. So you want to check those levels before you make a spousal contribution.
Yeah, so hopefully you can. And again, David, based upon your current income level, it would probably make sense if you could to do a traditional IRA, which would be deductible on your personal return.
Yes.
Because we know, my boy, that you're going to be in a lower tax bracket when you retire.
Sure.
So why would you want to make a non-deductible contribution so you can pull money out tax-free when you're in a 10% bracket?
So again, it's just taking into consideration.
No, Nana.
Right. Okay. We have a technical question now. I think you'll enjoy.
Beautiful. I love that.
I had $7,000 in carryover capital loss. I have more than $7,000 in capital gains next year. All 7 of my carryover, or will I be limited to $3,000?
Maybe. Well, what happens is that you're allowed to offset, and again, I'm not a CPA, but I took too much accounting. You may offset 100%
of losses.
long-term capital losses against this carryover. If you exhaust those long-term losses, you may only do up to $3,000
of the carryover
that next year. So the answer is
possibly,
maybe. That's a good way of putting it. It's a maybe. Now, my friend, whoever texted that, I have to tell you that they mustn't have had a great investment advisor, because all of our clients were yelling at us.
This was not your friend. This is, it could be your friend. I'm sorry.
They're all his friends.
They're all my buddies. But I'm saying is our clients were giving us grief because they made a lot of capital gains last year. It's like, oh my God, I'm paying tax.
Those mutual funds create taxes that sometimes people are unaware of.
Right. I mean, people have to realize that the funds invest in stocks, especially the stock funds. They're selling them as a way to create the gains, as a way for the assets to go up. You're getting new shares.
And they pass those gains on to you.
Or you could have them in cash, but you always want to reinvest it because that's how we're recommending it to you. So you have to pick them up. But it's okay.
I have a question I really want to get to, which is,
go for it,
if someone comes to you 4 or 5 years before they plan to retire, what does the initial meeting look like?
Fun.
It is a lot. See, these
It
are
is a blast.
These are really great meetings, we feel, because there's a lot of planning opportunities if we have multiple years of you continuing to work, like we talked about. Are we paying down debt? Are we continuing to contribute to retirement plans? Are we building up after-tax money? There are lots of other things to talk about, but all of our coaching sessions start the same.
Well, I would say that to try to give a little bit, give a little more specifics or give a little more of an input here.
Mm-hmm.
It's fun because what happens is that we've got a long runway.
Right.
And so what we're able to do is to say, hey, where are the holes and how do we fill them and how can we effectively fill them? Number 2 is what we can look at, we can deal with all the, I made this mistake in the past stuff, which, let me be honest with you, anytime you made a mistake, it's over. It's over. Once any mistake that you made, it's in the past. It's gone. If you made a mistake in the past, I didn't do this.
Or you thought you made a mistake.
Right, or if you did, it doesn't matter. It's already done. We're going to deal with what's there. But it's really fun to just kind of lay out the path for these folks. How do we get there? And also answer a lot of those questions. Can I go early if I want to? Am I on track to have enough capital to deal with that income need that I have? And again, once we're doing your game plan on our whiteboard, the numbers become so clear that at the end of the day, and I'll tell you that everyone that leaves our office, every single person has more clarity than when they came in. And really, that's the fun for us, seeing that light bulb go on and have fun, right?
That's exactly right.
And the way you do that is give us a call, 314-863-0008. Again, 314-863-0008. See you next week. The opinions voiced in this show are for general information only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. To determine which investments may be appropriate for you, consult with your attorney, accountant, and financial advisor or tax advisor prior to investing. Securities offered through LPL Financial, member FINRA SIPC. Investment advice offered through Private Advisor Group, a registered investment advisor. Private Advisor Group and JBL Financial Services, Inc. are separate entities from LPL Financial.
Be listening next week at 9 for more Straight Talk on Retirement with your retirement coaches, Jeff and Aaron Lapidus, on the Big 550 KTRS.